The Shock Therapy Podcast.
It's that boom, boom, boom.
At that point, electric current is passed between the electrodes in the head.
That shit just kicked in. I just feel like I smoked 1,000 blunts.
For discovery brings with it the penalties of society. Shame, arrest, prison.
Oh, sorry, I was taking life seriously.
I'm over the end dangerous territory. It's a dangerous territory right here. I'm in.
I don't know what psychotic means, really.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Thank you for tuning in to the Shock Therapy Podcast for Tuesday, September 8th. I'm your host, Carson McGregor, and as always, we are sponsored by RC Cola. Took me a while to find this. Had to go to several different stores because most stores don't carry RC Cola. But if you do find it, it's delicious. It's better than Coke. It's better than Pepsi. Far better than Coke. I think Coke is madly overrated. I like Pepsi more than Coke. And RC is the best out of the three. Got me a big jug of RC. Man, I haven't had that in a while. That shit is delicious. It's absolutely delicious. You know how I found out about RC Cola? It's actually funny. You guys remember that lady that was like viral on the internet? She was in like a house fire. But she was just so funny in her news interview that she got famous. I was coming downstairs and I was having a cold pop and it smelled like somebody was having a barbecue or something. You remember that lady? That's how I found out about RC, because some other YouTube person was doing a thing with that lady, and he got her like a 12-pack of RC Cola because he's like, I heard that this is like your favorite cola, like your favorite pop, and she was like, oh shit, and when I saw that, I was like, what the fuck is RC Cola? Next time I saw it at a store, I picked it up, and sure enough, I fell in love. Man, that was some good days of YouTube, man. That was just some good days of the internet when, like, there was a couple viral things. Shit goes viral so fast now, and it's become a phenomenon where it's trends rather than singular things. Like, remember when it used to just be like one crazy video would come out, it would go completely viral, people would make remixes, parodies, they'd dedicate shit to it, and now it's just like dance trends or whatever. I mean, it's changing, and it's always going to be, different than it was 10 years prior, so I understand that. I just don't like it. I don't like the new trends of the internet. I would rather it stayed the way it was, but memes are better than they ever have been. If not a bit repetitive. Memes get repetitive fast, man. Like, I don't know how much longer the format is going to sustain. Because the way memes are now, they've gotten so obscure and, like, unorthodox and weird. Like, I like that they're keeping it experimental. I treat it like any other type of art. Like music, movies, whatever. I like experimenting and trying new things. And people that make memes, they're always doing that. But there is a limit, there's a cap to how much that you can do with this format that they've created. So I'm really interested to see in 10 years what, internet memes are going to be like, what that whole culture is going to be. Because it's a huge deal. That's how people fucking communicate on the internet, is through memes. Like, it's such a necessity to Twitter, to Instagram, to Reddit. So I'm curious how that's going to change. I wanted to take this episode to talk about a couple things that I personally find underrated in this world. Shit that I just think is super, super underrated. One thing is battle rap. Holy shit. I'm very new to it. I'm kind of a fake fan at this point. Like, I only know guys like, Ill Will, the really big guys in the battle rap world. But most people don't know about battle rap. It's one of those, like, weird subcultures that you don't know about it until you know about it. And once you know about it, you're into it. You're really in. Like, I don't know a single MMA fighter's name. Like, outside of Conor McGregor and guys, huge guys like that just, you hear the name in passing so much. Also, my name is Carson McGregor, and the amount of people that I'm checking into a hotel or something. Hey, it's under Carson McGregor. Ooh, like the fighter? Yeah, I get that a lot. So I mean, same initials, our names kind of sound similar. I understand it, but I get it all the fucking time. I can't even like politely laugh anymore. I'm like, yeah, like the fighter. Oh man, I can't do it. I can't just like act like you're the first person that ever said that shit to me. It's gonna screw me up in search engines. If I ever want to be famous someday, it's gonna fuck me up that my name is so similar to somebody that's already that famous. It's like a guy named Mike Bison. Trying to be I don't even know, trying to be an actor. It's like, fuck, I'm screwed. Anybody hears my name in passing, they're not going to think twice. They're going to be like, they're talking about Mike Tyson, you know? But battle rap, though, is so crazy cool. I've always been a huge stand-up comedy fan, you know, ever since I was a kid. I remember the first stand-up comedy special I ever watched was with my parents. The first one I ever remember, you know, taking in and laughing at the jokes was Hot and Fluffy, Gabriel Iglesias. That might have been in like 2010-ish, 2012. I don't know. And I was in a hotel with my parents, and they turned on like the Comedy Network in passing, and we just got lucky that it happened to be Gabe, who's a pretty clean-cut dude, doesn't swear all that much, doesn't really tell dirty jokes. He's very family-friendly. And I remember just sitting there with my sister and my parents just dying laughing at this guy. It was off that special where he was telling jokes about, you know, getting pulled over, drunk driving. And as a kid, I really didn't have any context for that, but it was still so fucking funny. The voices and, you know, mannerisms he was doing. And I fell in love with it. And I think after that, right after, we watched the whole thing, and right after that, a Carlin special came on. I don't know what Comedy Central was doing back in the day where they would just air specials out like that, because that's awesome. They should do that more. But they showed a Carlin special, and it was, you know, normal TV, so they bleeped like so many words. So many words were just getting bleeped, and my parents just turned it off. Like, all right, that's enough. That's enough for you. But I've been a huge comedy fan for a very long time. And I'm just so into the art form of stand-up comedy. I really, truly believe it's an art form that doesn't get recognized as such often enough. And battle rap is very similar. It gets compared by people in that community that know about battle rap. It gets compared a lot, one to the other. There is, you know, roast battle on Comedy Central is a thing that is super similar because it's basically just a rap battle with jokes. It's a rap battle without rapping. It's a rap battle for white people. Now white people can battle rap. They can battle rap. You don't see them as much, but they're in there. You know, ever since Eminem broke that glass ceiling, ever since 8 Mile came out, white guys can be in it. No, it's just a really cool comparison to make because they are so similar. There's something you do in comedy that you also do in battle rap. It's a scheme. A scheme is your, way of getting to the punch. Some guys are methodical and slow and drawn out. They give you all the details and suck you into it and then punch. And some guys are like Uzis with it, just punch one after the other, just keep coming with the heat. And some guys are like, punch, lay back for a second, punch, lay back for a second, just like a little bit more rhythmic with it. There's a lot of ways to do it, both in comedy and in battle rap. In battle rap, it's a lot easier to spot what kind of scheme a guy is using pretty immediately because it moves so quickly. In comedy, you can kind of identify it after you've watched the guy for a couple minutes and you figured out like, okay, this is how he tells jokes. Like he's a one-liner guy or he's a storyteller guy or whatever. And I just think it's a really cool fucking thing. I'm a fake fan. Like I said, I'm a fake fan. I only know the big guys. I really only at this point, I've watched a couple battles, but I really have only watched compilations of the best moments. That's how I get into shit. I start with the best so that I can actually get into it and be disappointed by all the filler. But there's just fucking crazy lines. Some crazy lines. If you haven't ever experienced battle rap, there is a big gift on your front stoop waiting to be unwrapped. You don't even know how excited you could get about something like that. If you like rap even a little bit, like the art form of hip hop even a little bit, you'll love it. You'll love it. Cuz it's just like watching a lyrical fight. And there's so many theatrics involved. So many theatrics and so many great over-the-top lines. And it's not even just about who can be the most savage and who can be the most, dig deep at the other guy. It's also about the poetry of language. It's about, how you rhyme, how you put words together, how you structure your verses. Like, what kind of crazy-ass wordplay are you going to bring into it? Famous-ass, I think it's a Ill Will line. He goes, you from the slums? Well, I'm from the slums. I got young guns that'll put dum-dums in your tum-tum for a hun bun. Like, that's crazy. That's fucking crazy, dude. That's fucking crazy. It doesn't sound all that crazy because it's coming out of my mouth right now, but just, you gotta watch it in the whole place. They're doing it in like a fucking store. They're having this rap battle in a store front, and just a crowd of people, how it's supposed to be, just like a crowd forms around it, like a fight, like a street fight. And they're just having this battle, and everybody loses it. Everybody's losing their minds. Another one of my favorite ones, I saw a group battle where two guys come in, and he said, the first guy said, they're talking about these other two guys. He goes, something about, pulls his gun out, and I'll first 48 you. And he goes, the second 40 starving. Why? Because the first 40 ate you. Like, that's genius. That's genius. I don't understand how there's still guys like Ben Shapiro out there that don't give rap its credit. I think it's just a popular thing for conservative pundits to do. Not even ragging on conservatives. I've done that enough in this podcast. I try to rag on liberals too. I try to keep it even. Sometimes I do better than others, but guys like Ben Shapiro or Tommy Lauren does the same thing, where they rag on rap music. They call it not music. They say it's this, they say it's that, they say it's offensive, they say it's misogynistic, whatever. And they clearly haven't listened to anything beyond the surface level, because it gets so like structurally intelligent. The way they put together words, and the way they say the right thing at the exact right moment to make it hit the hardest. Like, it's the same in stand-up comedy. And stand-up doesn't get respect because it seems like an everyman type of skill. It seems like anybody could just get up on a stage and tell jokes, but that's just not the case. It's really hard to get up. I've done it a couple times, very small rooms. Like I did it a bunch of times at this restaurant in downtown Richmond that I think is still there, called the Carry 100, and it was an almost entirely black room, and the only way I was able to get by was as like a fucking 16-year-old white kid in there. That's the reason I went there first, is because I was looking for places that would let me in as an underage kid, and they let me, they didn't give a fuck. As long as you bought something, as long as you bought food or something, you could hang out and do the open mic. And I did that one for a while, and the only way I got by was by telling jokes about my dick. Like telling sex jokes, being really raunchy, because not even that my jokes were any good, they weren't. It was my, really young looking self telling those jokes killed everybody, because they were like, this fucking kid is what is he on? Like, he's going way over the top with his sex jokes. I remember saying something like I have so much pubic hair that my penis, when it's soft, looks like a mushroom in the tall grass. And that one always killed. For some reason, that just line always killed. And that's where I started to learn that there's certain things that if you didn't say them, they wouldn't be as funny. Because that's not that funny. That's something I wrote when I was 16 years old that I thought was funny. And, anything you try to write for a stage is going to be less funny inherently because you're trying. Humor is supposed to be kind of effortless. And, but if I were to just say grass, it wouldn't have worked at all. But, the tall grass, you say it like the tall grass, it's funny. I don't know why. I don't know what makes it funny. There's something about very specific language. Something about very, very specific language. Patrice O'Neill, one of the greatest, the late Patrice O'Neill, I'll say that. I think that's what you say when people are dead. You say the late Patrice O'Neill. One of the greatest comics of all time, never got his credit, or as much credit as he deserved for being as funny as he was, outside of the immediate comedy community. He had this one appearance on Tough Crowd, a show all about stand-up comedy. And he was talking about it, and he was talking about how he told this one joke where he said, he was talking about the DC snipers, and he said, and it was two dudes in a Buick, right? That was the kind of the line. And he said, I could have said anything. I could have said it was two dudes in a Ford, it was two dudes in a Chevy, but Buick was just funny. Even though in the DC sniper incident, it wasn't actually a Buick they were driving. I think it was a Cadillac or something, but Buick was the funniest word. There's no way to verbalize why. It's just, it gets the best reaction because it seems the funniest. Buick is just a funny sounding word in that context. It's very, very hard to explain. I don't really understand it. I just think it's interesting. And it really applies to battle rap as well. The way you say certain things. You could say the exact same thing a different type of way with different words and it not hit nearly as hard. Even though you got the same point across, even though you might have done the same lyrical backflips, you didn't use the correct language that would make it hit home, right? So there's definitely some Harvard level thinking that goes into it that I really can't even fathom. As far as rap music goes, I've been listening to I drive a lot for my one job, and I've been listening to the stuff I used to listen to when I was a kid, when I first got into hip hop. When I first got into hip hop, I was listening to Eminem, Kanye, and that was basically it for a while. Then after, I heard everything from Eminem, I got into D12, and then I started to be like, man, these guys in D12, this group thing is cool. And I started to get into other groups. I think I got into Outkast next, something like that. I started to get into groups. My dad introduced me to the Wu-Tang Clan. And I fell in love with it to a certain point. It took a while though. Eminem was all I was comfortable with for a long time, just because I had heard it. I had heard the big tracks like The Real Slim Shady, My Name Is, and it gave me that interest. It piqued my interest to listen to the rest of his music. I wasn't aware that there was so much out there to listen to. I think the first time I listened to a hip-hop track on purpose, looked up and tried to find a hip-hop track that wasn't Eminem or Kanye West, was Biggie Smalls' Juicy. Because this dude at my summer camp I might have talked about this before, did a parody of it with camp lyrics. This kid that was my age at the time, maybe 10, He did Juicy by Biggie Smalls with camp lyrics. This guy his name was Isaiah. I remember that because everybody was shouting his name when he did it. Because all these other kids at this camp, they're 10, they don't know. So they're just thinking this guy wrote a rap about camp and it's crazy. Obviously he's using the Juicy outline, so it's not as crazy. But all the counselors who are aware of the song, they're going nuts because they're this 10-year-old kid knows Biggie Smalls enough that he could write this. That was insane. So afterwards I asked him about it. I said, did you write that? Like, what is that? And he said, no, it's Juicy by Biggie Smalls. I just changed the words around a little bit. So I wrote it down, went back home, looked it up, and listened to it a bunch of different times. And I was into that song specifically for a while. I don't know how I got on that. Oh yeah, talking about my old hip hop preferences. I then got into really bad hip hop for a while. Nothing too crazy, nothing like Juggalo level bad, but you know, if your first introduction into hip hop is Eminem, you kind of, you know, strive for this horrorcore vibe because that's what you're used to, you know. So I got into Tech Nine, and I got into Hobson. Now Tech Nine's a fucking beast. Don't get me wrong. There's nothing I can say bad about Tech Nine. Hobson, on the other hand, is corny as fuck. He's corny as fuck. He's one of the corniest dudes I could think of. You know, super preachy, acts like he's the god of hip hop when he's really pretty okay as a rapper and not great at putting an album together or putting songs together. His aesthetics are a little bit worn out and, you know, and cheesy. So Hobson, not super great, but I was a kid and I wasn't well versed in the genre, so I listened to Hobson. I thought it was the shit. And I've been going back to that music, and I mentioned on this podcast before how Little Caesars still tastes awesome to me, even though I know how bad it is, even though I know it's bullshit pizza, because it has a nostalgic feel. I used to eat it a lot as a kid. And Hobson, man, he hit me the same way. The old Hobson I used to listen to, Raw, that fucking tape, like came out in 2010 maybe. The tape he did with Swizz had the song The Lucifer Effect. I did a short film when I was a really young kid about or with that title because I thought it was so cool. I just thought the name was The Lucifer Effect. That's so cool. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I'm kind of talking really off the head, giving no context to any of this. Man, I've given no context to anything I've said. Fuck. Hobson, he's a rapper, and he's corny. Mentioned all that, but he had this long-spanning career, and his early stuff is really Eminem influenced, very much Eminem influenced, and a lot of it is like trying to be horrorcore, not really quite hitting the mark because it's forced. There's an element of that when you're trying to be, you know, Eminem did it perfectly for a very long time. Like he seemed insane when he was rapping. Like it seemed like he was a mentally deranged person had just broken into the recording booth to make this song. And Hobson was trying to put off that same vibe without having the same intentions or the same background. So there was a lot wrong with his music, but I go back and I listen to it now, and it's because that's what I was bumping when I was in like 6th, 7th grade, that it hit me in a certain way, man. I gotta say, it hit me in a certain way. And he made a tape with this dude named Swizz that was on his label at the time. And I don't know whatever happened to this man Swizz. He has a very Danny Brown type of style, like really high up pitched voice, but like hard hitting vocal, like, you know, really hard hitting lyrics, like that boom bappy old school rap style. And I just haven't heard from this man since. I don't know, man. He seemed like he could have been a cool figure, but I just haven't kept up with it. Another thing. Before we wrap up, another thing I've been getting really into, even though I don't like reality television, I don't really particularly watch any type of reality TV whatsoever. It's not my thing. My sister watches it. She really likes it. And I try, you know, it's one of those disconnects where I say, that stuff isn't real. It's so obviously fake. It's so obviously contrived. And she says, I don't care. Doesn't matter. It's the product that makes, that keeps drawing me in. It's like, WWE. WWE is obviously fake. It's not even trying to convince you it's like part of the appeal of it is that it's fake wrestling. It's an act. But you get people that don't know anything about it who say, well, that's just fake wrestling. Like, why would you watch something that's fake? That's stupid. And real people and real wrestling fans say, you don't get it. That's why I watch it, because it's fucking fake. Because it's so crazy. Obviously those dynamics could never happen in the real world, in a real wrestling league. So fuck, like, this is like theater, It's like gladiator theater. It's awesome. I've only recently figured out how cool the WWE is. I was not hip. I thought it was stupid, and then I watched it, and I'm like, man, this is kind of written well. This is hilarious. It's good for kids and for adults. Like, I would take my kids to go see this if I had them. But I don't watch reality television outside of some cooking shows. And the one that always gets me is Cutthroat Kitchen. If you don't know Cutthroat Kitchen, I highly recommend it. It's Alton Brown from Good Eats, one of the greatest TV hosts, personalities in the food world there's ever been. And it's a competition. I don't like competitive cooking shows on the face because it's like, why are you turning cooking, something that's supposed to be so relaxing and peaceful, into something so, competitive? There's an element of that I kind of don't like, but this show always seems to stay friendly, They always seem to be cracking jokes with each other, have a good attitude about the whole thing. And you can't really win that much money anyway, because it starts out with a case full of $100,000, 4 chefs. Each chef gets $25,000, and $75,000 is going, like, you can only win what you have is the $25,000. $75,000 is going back in the case at the end of the show. But you have 3 rounds to cook 3 separate dishes. He tells you, it's like, you're going to cook meatloaf. You're going to cook, cheesesteaks. You're going to cook fucking cupcakes, whatever. And you can bid on these sabotages. They have these crazy over-the-top sabotages that they would do to each other. It's like, he'll bring in one that's like, all right, you got to wear oven mitts for the whole competition, for the whole round. And you can make one of your opponents do that. Who wants to bid me for this? And you got to bid on it because you don't want somebody to give that to you. So it's kind of this, thing where you're looking at this sabotage as a chef and thinking, like, could I do that? Do I need to bid on this? Because, like, maybe I could cook this with oven mitts on. I don't know. But if you're thinking, like, I definitely couldn't, I need this, then you might end up dropping like $9,000 out of your 25 on the oven mitts. And then you're like down some money. So you need the money for the competition, but you're also trying to save money to win money at the end. It's a cool dynamic. I like it a lot. And there's been people in the history of the show that try to save all $25,000. I'm not going to bid on anything. I'm just going to get sabotaged and still win it because I'm a great cook. Nobody ever does it. It's impossible. It's damn near, not impossible. It's damn near impossible, because if the other person, once you're down to 2 people, the other person is going to buy all the sabotages, put them directly on you, and then boom, you're just fucked and they're untouched. So you have to make dishes you have 3 handicaps on you, they have none. I'm explaining this poorly, but go watch the fucking show. Anyway, I'm watching this episode the other day. This guy comes in early and he says, my strategy, he says to camera, those when they take him aside afterwards and talk to them, and so they have those cutaways to talk to camera. He says, my strategy going into this is I'm going to keep all $25,000. I'm walking out with $25,000. My wife and I eloped. We never went on a honeymoon. I'm taking her on one, and I'm getting all this money. You're thinking as a viewer, like, all right, yeah, right, dude. Yeah, right. You're gonna get fucked out of this competition. I'm watching it. He gets through the first round, doesn't bid on anything, gets through the first round, down to 3 people, doesn't bid on anything. They're starting to notice that he's not bidding on anything. And so he gets through that round. He's down to 2 people. Him versus a pastry chef. They have to make ice cream cones, the cones and the ice cream. And you're thinking, fuck, this guy is a normal chef that works in a kitchen. He works with savory food. This other guy who's competing against not only is a pastry chef, but he's going to buy all the sabotages and put them on you. Like, there's no way. There's no way. He's not going to win. And he has to cook with like a dog collar on his head. He's got to he's got to mix everything in this traffic cone with a hole on the bottom, so he's got to mix it sideways and keep the liquid from spilling out. It's a mess. It's a mess. But luckily for him, the pastry chef, he succumbs to the pressure, and he fucks up some parts of his dish, of his ice cream. And he just, the guy that's got all the stuff that still has 25 in the bank, he fucking pulls it off. I swear, this might not be entertaining to listen to me talk about this in hindsight, but it really made me excited when I saw it. As a frequent viewer of this show, I was like, I was standing up, I was walking around being like, is he gonna do it? Is he gonna fucking pull it off? And when at the end the judge says, yeah, you win, like you're the dish was better, I lost my mind. It was like watching Rocky. I swear to God, it was like watching Rocky 2. You think Rocky's going to get knocked down again, but he comes back up and he pulls it off. The true underdog story. Rocky is the true underdog story. Loses in the first movie. That's how much of an underdog he was. That's how much story they set up of him being an underdog. He lost the first movie just so he could be so much of an underdog to win the second movie. That's brilliant storytelling right there. And so was that episode of that show. That was a great one. That made me really happy. All right, I think that's enough for me. Enough of my rambling about nonsense. Go watch some battle rap, man. Go watch some battle rap. It's interesting stuff. Just look up compilations of, best battle rap moments on YouTube. You won't be disappointed, I promise. You also won't be disappointed if you go to your local Walmart or wherever they carry it and get some RC Cola. This shit is truly delicious, and I'm a little bit parched from talking nonstop for 30 minutes, so I'm going to have me a swig before I sign off here. Damn, that shit is good. The elixir of the gods, or of kings. Royal Crown Cola. Anyway, what else was I going to say? I guess I got nothing else to say. Sway for president. Love you guys. Oh, listen to the Frat Chat podcast on this channel if you're watching it on YouTube. Or I'll drop links to it on the SoundCloud if you're listening to it on SoundCloud. Listen to Frat Chat. Listen to my other episodes. Sway for president. Drink RC Cola. All that good stuff. Love you guys.